Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rembach.
Call Center Coach develops and unites the next generation of call center leaders. Through our e-learning and community, individuals gain knowledge and skills in the 6 core competencies that is the blueprint that develops high-performing call center leaders. Successful supervisors do not just happen. So go to callcentercoach.com to learn more about enrollment and download your copy of the Supervisor Success Path ebook now. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because I have somebody on the show today who's really going to help us get down to the essence and the most important thing in regards to us selling out. Kory Angelin was raised in Long Island, New York, along with his 3 siblings, Kara, Keith, and Kyle. He was the youngest one, which led always to being competitive. His father was a businessman and accountant and graduated college in 3 years. His mother was a teacher for 40 years and dedicated her life to helping others. It was at this time where Kory learned the skills of hard work and dedication. At a young age, Kory could always be found competing in anything he participated in: school, sports, and even Trivial Pursuit at home with his family. Kory is known for having a range of skills that transfer to any industry, including communication, accountability, execution, and the ability to motivate others. He believes that people don't buy what you do, but rather why you do it. It's in that motto that Kory believes a salesperson must convey to their customer. A customer should not only focus in on what you have to sell, rather why you want to buy it and why in the first place. Kory is an award-winning trainer and 2-time publisher, author with over 25 years in the fitness industry. His most recent book is entitled Sellout: How a Great Experience Can Help You Sell Out of Your Product. He has worked for some of the top fitness brands in the world, teaching brand experience. His industry experience includes partnering with Nike to launch their Spark brand, worked with a variety of athletes from the NFL and NBA, and has been featured in Sports Illustrated, USA Today, Training and Conditioning, and Stack magazines for his work in the fitness industry. Kory has been an on-air host on QVC and is a sought-after motivational speaker. Kory currently resides in Farmingdale, a village in Long Island, with his wife Dawn and his son Cameron, who is a spitting image of Kory. God bless him. Kory Angelin, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I am so pumped up. I need to hire you wherever I do a speaking appearance. You're going to intro me.
Man, I'd be glad to do that. Now, I've given my legion a little bit about you, but can you share what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
You know, I, like myself, I believe that I just love helping others. It's kind of cliche, but when you're in an industry that's personable your entire life, I have interactions with people every day, especially in the health and fitness field. It really teaches you the power of what you can do and how you can change someone's life every single day.
You know, as you were talking, I started also thinking about just kind of, for me, being an old guy, just 50 this year, and someone who, I work out, 4 times a week. And I start looking at different places where you can go and work out. Everything from the YMCA to private places to some of the chains to, and some of those places, it's kind of like that restaurant that you always see in your town. It's like, well, it's been 10 different things. There must be a death nail on.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so some of these fitness places, I'm like, how do some of them go through the January swell and the February flop when it comes to, memberships and people exercising? And it just seems like a very dynamic industry. So how do people differentiate in that industry? Because I think it's a huge learning opportunity for many others.
Great question. There are 2 principles I learned in business early on that makes or breaks someone, whether it means coming to a gym or being successful as an accountant or whatever industry you're in. And it's accountability, but more importantly, it's consistency, right? So yes, you can go to the gym every single day in January because, of course, you have a New Year's resolution that you want to get in shape. But ultimately, it doesn't work if you don't come in February. So that means planning on what you're going to do to reach your goal. In my case, it's always been reaching some sort of health and fitness goal. And it's interesting because people say all the time, why'd you write a book about sales? You're in the fitness industry. And I go, the fitness industry is one of the best industries to look at where you're looking at a great salesperson. You see, we don't have something we can sell. In other words, if I go to a watch salesman, they could put a watch on me. I could feel the watch. I could see the watch, right? But really what we're selling is a dream. So the reason why I became a great salesperson was just by chance, because I learned the skills to build a great experience. And then in return, most people would buy something from me, whether it was a personal training package or nutritional products or whatever the case may be. So that's really where I learned that skill set from.
So as you were talking, I even started thinking about how many, financial institutions are doing the same thing, whether it's banking, insurance, investment banking. I mean, they're all trying to sell that dream. And so when you start looking at, the particular elements, I mean, you hit some of them, but when you start talking about experience, you talked about accountability and all, but I mean, how is that really a differentiator from one to the other?
I mean, as you just said that, I just thought of a great commercial I just saw to prove a point, right? Well, and I'll back up for a second. Many years ago, I saw a study in a magazine. It was called Club Industry Magazine. And they had a study done, and the study was the top 3 reasons why someone joins a gym. It's really the top 3 reasons why people buy stuff, but we're going to relate it to a gym. Number 1 was customer experience. Number 2 was cleanliness. And number 3 was price. Most people, however, try to sell something based on price. They'll even use the words, we're running a great sale today, right? Or we just had Black Friday or Cyber Monday. And these are typical days of the year where people go, oh, it's Cyber Monday, there must be great sales. In other words, thinking about the price. But what you'll find is that great brands, to be a differentiator from other brands, so let's look at Apple, Disney, Starbucks, what they do differently to differentiate themselves from everyone else is they focus not on the money aspect. In fact, have you ever seen Apple run a sale? Never. They never run a sale. And the reason is because they've already built value. If you talk about Starbucks, I'll tell you the differentiator in Starbucks every single day, no matter what state I'm in, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, Florida, Colorado, California, I buy a cup of coffee from Starbucks twice a day. I don't even like the coffee. But do you know why I go to Starbucks twice a day? Because of the experience. And if you look at that experience, right? You walk in, first thing you see, what do you think the first thing you see in a Starbucks? What do you see the people doing?
I don't know.
They're sitting down.
I'm going to one.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I'm guilty, man. I'm guilty.
I know, no worries. They're sitting down, right? And you'll see them on their laptops. They're doing work. They're doing term papers. Some people go on dates and they meet at Starbucks. Some people do job interviews at Starbucks, right? So I noticed that first. I noticed that you can get stuff done in your life at a coffee shop. I then get online and I see the people in back of the counter. They're actually working. I never see someone in back of the counter texting someone on their cell phone. They're working. We even call them baristas. What a great name, baristas, right? And then we even speak Italian in Starbucks. And I've never taken Italian, but yet you will see Kory Angelin online in Starbucks saying something like this, venti macchiata. That's pretty powerful. And I go to Starbucks, not for the taste of the coffee, but for the experience. So what makes a differentiator in any industry or any brand is that they focus on that experience. And the second thing I was going to tell you, what you reminded me of, there's a commercial on right now for Capital One Bank, a bank, right? And what they decided to do, and you might have even seen this, is they built a Capital One cafe now. When you go into a Capital One bank, it's a cafe. And do you know why they did that? To build a better experience. How powerful that is pretty powerful because I'm even remembering it right now, and I don't even bank there. That's how powerful a great experience can be a differentiator from everyone else.
For me, when when you're talking and I'm starting to look at the marketplace and many of the conversations that I've had, it's almost to me like sales is no longer sales. Sales is experience expert. You talk about barista, right? I think we're seeing this whole shift take place. And now that goes into an issue that you actually mentioned in your book, where you were saying how so many people just aren't really equipped or have the skills to really do selling.
Yeah, you know what's real funny, but you'll appreciate since I'm from New York, whenever I do a speaking appearance, the actual opening line I use, I say, everyone in this room sucks at sales. And I say it kiddingly, of course, right? But the reason why I say that is they really do, if you think about it. And it's not their fault. It's because we don't go to school to learn how to sell. And I always tell a famous story. I majored in sports medicine. At no point in my life in college did I walk into my anatomy and physiology class and the professor turns to us and says, today, class, we're going to learn how to sell. That never happened, right? So really where most of us learn how to sell is just through trial and error. And most of the time it's error because we don't have that skill set. But what I find is that when I sit in front of a group and I give them a skill set, I put tools in their tool belt to help them learn how to build a great experience, how to ask great questions. It really does make them better at sales. And what I find is that there are two types of salespeople. You have great salespeople, and then you have everyone else.
Okay, as you were talking, I started thinking about a couple different dynamics associated with that and how that number of people who are sucking at sales is probably increasing at an ever-increasing rate. Is that, we talk about the loss of empathy. We talk about the rise of, incivility in society and in the workplace and, all of these factors that the whole, selfie generate. And all these people, younger people getting into the workplace that, they haven't really learned some of the emotional intelligence skills in order to be able to make that experiential connection, with a lot of the people who are there trying to, get to buy or sell out their product. So when you start looking at, those core elements and finding people who you can equip, what do you see down the road as far as that being more difficult?
I am ready to do push-ups. I am so pumped up that you just said that. So there are two things to what you just said. There's asking for the sale, right? So they haven't said no yet. And then there's what if they say no? You just hit the nail on the head. When you ask great questions, but prior to you, right about before you ask, for the sale, there's something you need to do. There are actual questions that you can do to activate a customer's emotional part of the brain, right? So I'll give you a quick example. What's your fitness goal, Jim? What's your fitness goal? For real.
My fitness goal is to, I would dare to say, have overall body strength.
Great.
And to, build stability.
Okay, great. So here's an example of a great question a salesperson would ask you to tap into the emotional part of the brain, right? So how would it feel if you were able to achieve that goal? How would you feel?
It would be a peace of mind that
Good. Stop right there. Right? Do you see what I mean? Like right now you go into, wow, okay, and you start thinking about, and the middle part of the brain is the part that does that. The more times I can do that, the more you're going to trust me because I'm making you more emotionally adaptable to what I'm selling. The second part to that is, which you actually hit the nail on the head, was, well, what if you say no? The biggest skill set a salesperson lacks when someone says no to a sale is empathy. The first thing you do if someone says, I want to think about it, I want to talk to my spouse, I want to shop around, whatever the most common objections are, is they need to come back with, I totally understand. That should be the first phrase out of any salesperson's mouth, but we lack that, right? That's the part we lack. So to your point, you just, those are two key principles right there to when you're taking someone through a sales experience.
Well, and as we're talking and I'm thinking, I'm like, these are really have become core fundamental and foundational skills regardless of what you do. And it isn't a scenario where you only need these skills and tactics because you're a person who is accountable for selling. It is, hey, I need to get my colleagues to buy into my ideas. I need to, get my friends to try to do this vacation that we're going to do together instead of that one because I like it, or to do these things. There are all these core fundamental elements of selling and persuasion and influence and all of that is something that we all need to learn regardless of where we are.
We actually do it already. We sell all the time, which is laughable because I always tell people, whether you're in sales or not, you really are in sales. Have you ever tried to get your spouse to go see a favorite movie of yours, or get your friend, to your point, maybe to go to your favorite restaurant? And we're selling them on an idea. We don't know we're doing that. We're trying to convince them, but convincing is trying to sell. So it's funny in a way because we're all salespeople at some level. And then that also transfers into an actual industry that you might be in where you're really doing that on a daily basis.
It's kind of funny. I started thinking about my youngest son who, he has, I mean, he's 10 years old, but he's created this a really expert level knowledge in regards to world geography.
Wow.
And I mean, he's just one of those things that's focused in on it. He was given a globe for his birthday, and he just studied the globe.
Wow.
Part of that is, I think, kind of comes from you being one of the youngest, being the youngest child, and that whole competitive piece. He's trying to keep up with his older siblings. But when he meets people, of course, he starts spewing, all of his knowledge about, geography and stuff, try to gain acceptance. And I'm trying to teach him, son, okay. And he's very empathetic. He really is. I said, but that you need to lead with the empathy component, not with the component of what your prowess and knowledge and skill is in world geography. Focus in on the other person. And I'm trying to make sure that he does that. But when I think about the education process that all of us go through, we don't learn that stuff.
No, not at all.
We're talking about the anatomy class. So how can we change some of this?
We have to practice. We have to lean on podcasts and interviews and YouTube and read, which, who knows if people do that anymore, but unless it's digital. But yeah, I mean, what I find funny when I get in front of a group of people and I'm teaching them sales philosophy is that you have to be like an athlete. Athletes who I've sat in front of and worked with, professional athletes, many of them in my career, they practice. Even though they're making millions of dollars, when they don't play a game, they practice. And yet, almost everyone else that's in a job never really practices. So some of these skills, whether it's asking great questions that activate the emotional part of the brain or how to overcome objections, it's great if you get in front of a guy like you or me and we can teach you the skill set. But if you don't practice it, you're not going to be better at it.
I think that's a great point. And I also, we all need a coach. We all need to practice. I get the opportunity to do that, almost every single week by the guests that I have on the show. And so, I'm learning from you. So thank you very much. But when we're talking about all of this and the practice and the effort and all of that, we need our motivators. And one of the things that we look at on the show are quotes to help us with that. Is there a quote or two that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite quote is by Simon Sinek, pretty famous leader in the industry and in business. And he always says and talks about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so that's the quote. But what that really means is the goal should not be for a person to sell something to someone because of something that they have. It's to sell something to someone because they believe in what you believe in. If you don't believe in what you're selling, you're not going to be successful at selling it. So a salesperson at a gym needs to believe in the gym of the membership that they're selling. If they don't even work out in that gym, right? It's hard for them to sell a membership at that gym. And the same goes for a car salesman or whatever. An interesting thing I always like to say when I'm shopping for a car. So, I just got a Ford truck about a year ago. I asked the dealer, what kind of car do you drive? Wouldn't it be great if he goes, I drive a Ford? But many times that's not the case, right? So yeah, you have to believe in what you're selling. So I believe that's one of the ways you do that.
Well, I think that's a great point as well. So it kind of gives you that, idea of whether or not you can trust that person.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a huge component in being able to influence and all of that. So, but I would dare to say that for you, I know the whole competitive component being a younger sibling, you had a dad, obviously, who was really focused in on goals, graduating in 3 years, and your mom helping others. It's a fantastic dynamic to grow up in, but I'm sure it wasn't all bliss. You had humps you had to get over. So,
sure. Yeah. The first hump was, which this is going back 20, 30 years ago. I grew up until I was about 12, and then my parents divorced. And, it was a great divorce, if that's such a thing, because really you would think they were still married. So I was fortunate in that. But my older siblings, who were much older than me, really didn't experience that because they were in college at that point, and it obviously was still that had an effect on them. But I remember, as you bring up my father, a motivating factor, every time I played a sport, specifically soccer, he would offer me $3 for every time I scored. So if you were to ask any of my siblings or me, what was my motivating factor growing up? It was money. So as you were talking about that, but yeah, and those are very common hardships, divorce or whatever in most people's lives, really, probably more people's lives than less people's lives right nowadays. But yeah, I mean, but from that point on, one of the things I give my parents credit, for is they always put the kids first, which is, I think, is a great life principle to go by. They still believed in dedication, communication, accountability, all of those key principles. And if you really think about it, transcends to any industry, not just, family, but those transcends even more to business specifically. So I think that's where I overcame some hardships and brought it to where I am today.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I have to ask, because one of the things, we're talking a lot about finding that emotional connection where, as a motivator and things like that. And,
Sure.
and when having the opportunity to interview so many different folks throughout the years is that I hear that money should not be your motivator. So while as a kid, money can be really enticing. However, it doesn't cause you to persevere and overcome. So in other words, I don't necessarily focus in on the process of becoming a better soccer player, that I have to work on my foot drills, that I have to work on my things, that I have to work on my conditioning and this, that, and the other in order to be able to get to the money. It's that I just want the money. So I would dare to say you've had to make that shift at some point. When did that happen?
Sure. I mean, wow, great point. Because if you really break down what I just said in a specific instance on a soccer field, I can't score and get that money unless I beat that other kid to the ball. So that meant in my head, I learned early on that I need to be faster. If I want more money, I need to be faster. Well, how do you be faster? Well, you got to train every day. Well, what do you do when you train every day? You have to do speed and agility drills. It's no coincidence I became a speed and agility coach early on as a trainer. That's really my passion when it comes to fitness. But so there are things that you have to do. We call it the cause and effect. So like you can't reach the result unless, I always say, look at your goal first, or look at what result you want to have. Great. But then there are steps you have to take. So work backwards from that. So if you want to lose 20 pounds, well, that's going to take 20 weeks. So we need to focus on, okay, let's work backwards and figure out how we get there. And then that really lays out a plan for you to your end result, which is getting paid more, scoring a goal, or whatever the case may be.
I think that's perfect. And I think for me, right now I'm caught up into, certain areas of discipline, learning about, human behavior and human dynamics.
Love it.
Decision-making. And one of the places that I'm at right now is this whole self-discipline component, is that how do you create that? Because having, and trying to develop and help and support, 3 growing adults, is that, man, the whole self-discipline thing is tough. It's very tough. And so because they're always talking and seeing the shiny object and the goal, and they're like, I want it. It's like,
Exactly.
okay, whoa, back up. Let's work backwards. And they don't want to do that, right? Because no, I want it now. So I think that whole youth and wisdom thing, don't go together. And so I'm trying to hopefully get that into them before, they get too old, and then they look back and they're like, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda. But it's not easy. So when you start talking about working with organizations and helping them grow their business, I mean, how much are you having to have them take that step back to say, oh, okay, let's ground ourselves and really work the process and figure out the process? Yeah,
it's very interesting. Some are really open to that, and then some are just, let's look at the bottom line here, right? Let's run a sale. We have to. We're behind on our EBITDA number, whatever it is for the year, but it is coming around. And usually what happens is when I get in front of someone, or someone like me who's as passionate about customer experience as I am, it's much easier to turn that around. I recently talked to a food company that was looking to do something with me on social media, and I felt myself pitching to them what I can do to scale their business. And in my head, though, I'm passionate about really what I can do for them. And it really was about tweaking their brand, forgetting the price. Listen, people will pay for something as long as they understand the value. Hence why I have a $1,000 phone on iPhone X. Hence why I spend $2.50 on a coffee I don't even like. Hence why I spend $175 to go to Disney for one day, right? People will pay. So when I get in front of someone and I explain to them that piece of it, it's a lot easier for them to agree to that and tweak the way they think.
So I would dare to say, with talking about, your job, talking about, parenting, talking about, the books, talking about the speaking and the consulting, that you have a whole lot of potential targets as goals. But if you were to say one of them, what is one of your goals you can share?
Great question. Just one? Wow. Okay. Really, I want companies or in any industry to understand that sales is not an evil word. There are companies that I know that they used to call their salespeople sales advisors, and then now they call them something else because they're afraid of that word. I hope that more companies take the message that sales is a great thing as long as they have the right messengers. And then if we can put more time and effort into the education of onboarding salespeople, that would be my goal for any company or individual.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Kory, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Kory Angelin, are you ready to hoedown?
I am pumped up.
All right. So what is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
The bandwidth to reach more companies outside the fitness industry.
And what is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That famous quote I said before.
And what is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
More empathy goes a long way, much farther than it would if you were not open to that when someone says no to a sale.
And what is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Asking a great open-ended question in any customer experience so it allows the customer to speak longer.
And what would be one book that you'd recommend to our Legion? And it can be from any genre. And of course, We'll put a link to Sellout on your show notes page as well.
Start with the Why by Simon Sinek.
Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you can find links to that and other bonus information by going to Kory's show notes page, and that could be found at fastleader.net/Kory Angelin. I'm still working on it. Is it Angelin?
No worries. I still like it. You got my first name right.
Okay, Kory, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you can take all the knowledge and skills that you have and take them back with you, but you can't take it all. Actually, you can only just use one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
Great question. What one skill? Man, I will tell you, I would have at 25 years old, I would have learned more about business and finance than I cared to at the time. So, if having to do it all over again, a little bit more knowledge in other industries rather than be pigeonholed into whatever I was doing at the time, expanding that knowledge base would have been a lot better for me.
Kory, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Sure. KoryAngelin.com or Angelin, either one works. KoryAngelin.com or at KoryFit and be part of my Instagram family.
Kory Angelin, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.